Great news. There's a quick way you can save money. Switch to Geico. Geico could help you get great coverage at a great price. And it only takes 15 minutes to see if you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Go to geico.com today and see how much you could save.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Everybody. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show. Coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airwaves of ESPN Radio, 250 plus markets across the United States of America as of yesterday. That also includes Houston and San Antonio. Welcome aboard. Plus, obviously, Sirius XM, ESPN Radio Channel 80. Number to call up as always is 888. Say ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. Got a jam-packed show coming your way today. Lots of stuff to get into, but it's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Got a lot of stuff on my mind. Ladies and gentlemen, let me be very, very clear. I am really not interested in the latest conversation about where LeBron James is going. I'm not interested. Staying in Cleveland. You could be in Miami. You might go to Houston. LA's craving you. Enough. The playoffs begin this Saturday. And Misha _33 on Twitter. Don't be telling me I don't have to scream. I'm passionate about what I feel. I don't want to hear about that stuff. I don't want to hear about it at all. Now, my perfect world, I'd want him to be in Miami or L.A. because obviously the cameras are going to follow LeBron wherever he goes. And if I have a choice between Cleveland or Miami or L.A., what the hell you think I'm going to pick? Is it really a suspenseful issue? Of course not. And we all know you ain't going to think about the New York Knicks as long as James Dolan is there. So why do I care? What I'm interested in talking about are these playoffs. Because I watched a little basketball last night. I watched Anthony Davis put on a show against the Los Angeles Clippers. I watched the Lakers, their season are rapidly approaching an end. I'm looking at Houston and everybody's talking about how this is the team to beat, especially since Steph Curry is not playing. And why do we say that? Because, ladies and gentlemen, if the playoffs were to begin today, it is my understanding that the Golden State Warriors, without Steph Curry, would be going up against Russell Westbrook and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Oh, my Lord. If that happens, you talk about, I don't know. I mean, you could sit up there and look at Kevin Durant last year and say there was pressure on him to perform. There was obviously pressure on the Golden State Warriors to produce, to win the championship, since you had added Kevin Durant to that list. I get that part. But I'm talking about strictly as an individual. I'm talking about putting yourself on an island where you're isolated away from everybody else. Kevin Durant has never, ever been under the amount of pressure that he would be on or he would be under if Kevin Durant were to go against Oklahoma City without Steph Curry. Could you imagine that? Let me paint the storylines for you. Kevin Durant left OKC. Kevin Durant went and joined the 73-9 Golden State Warriors. Kevin Durant left behind Russell Westbrook because purportedly he didn't believe he could win a championship without Russell Westbrook. He talked about loving Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, the system that exists in Golden State with Steve Kerr as his coach. That's what he said. And if you know anything about Russell Westbrook, say whatever you want about him. But I'm here to tell you right now, do you know of a greater assassin in the sport? Do you know of anybody that goes for your gut, that tries to strip your heart right out of your chest, who is merciless and ruthless, devoid of compassion? Do you know anybody that's like Russell Westbrook? Now, I know LeBron James is the best in the world. There is no reason to debate or question that at this particular moment in time. Kawhi is hurt. Kevin Durant is a scoring machine and can play defense, by the way, but basically he isn't the playmaker that LeBron is. You combine that with the fact that Anthony Davis is big time, but he's mired in New Orleans where we barely get to look at him because you got Drew Holiday and others who can play, by the way, but those are your teammates. What do you have? When we look at the best player in the world, it's LeBron James. We understand that. But does LeBron James have Russell Westbrook's ruthlessness? I mean, let's put this in this proper context here. Russell Westbrook don't look like he like anybody. Now, I'm not saying he does or doesn't. I don't know him like that. I'm telling you, he looks like he don't like anybody. And I'm trying to tell you right now, that brother and what he was subjected to because of the departure of Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is in Golden State without the services of Steph Curry for a first-round matchup against Russell Westbrook. Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. I mean, you can't make this up. And everybody up there that want to sit up there, guys like my man Max Kelvin talking about there's more pressure on Russell Westbrook. Oh, shut up. Nonsense. Nobody expected Russell Westbrook to win anyway because Carmelo and Paul George haven't been what we thought they would be. No disrespect. Got love for both of them. And I know they both can play. But Carmelo Anthony is 33 years old and has been looking it to some degree. And Paul George has had some big games, nationally televised games this year, where he didn't show up offensively. And when we think about the big three that's in Oklahoma City, we haven't looked at a big three. We've seen a big two, sometimes a big 2.5, but rarely have we seen all three put the NBA on hold and say, look, here we are. We haven't seen that from the Oklahoma City Thunder this year. And chances are, when all of this is said and done, all of this noise from Kevin Durant leaving the year before and Russell Westbrook left to hold the bag by himself with Victor Oladipo, who we now know is an all-star, to this year where Kevin Durant had a big three. I'm sorry, not Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook had a big three. Do y'all realize that the Oklahoma City Thunder are on the verge of getting bounced out in the first round for the second straight year? If we really put things in this proper perspective, can we get down to brass tacks on this issue? Carmelo Anthony ain't going to waive his contract because he's due to get paid $28 million next year. He's going to opt in. He ain't going to opt out of that deal because ain't nobody knocking down his door to give him $28 million. Paul George, for all intent and purposes, as close as he is with Russell Westbrook, may still want out after this year so he can get to L.A. where he always wanted to be. But if you Magic Johnson and those boys, you got to be asking yourself the question, is this brother worth $175 million? I think he is. But has he been playing like that consistently? The answer would be no. Somebody at Cleveland _A_Smith, my brother from another mother. What's up, my man? What's up, my peeps? Listen to me. I'm just trying to break it down to y'all. Paul George has been inconsistent. Still great, but been inconsistent. No way around it. And then you look at it from this perspective. Kevin Durant, even though you don't have Steph Curry, you got to return to Oklahoma City. You got to go against Russell Westbrook. He's got some help in Paul George and Melo, who have their own expectations, regardless of everything that I just pointed out. On top of all of that, you're Kevin Durant. You're one of the top 3 players on the planet. You got Klay Thompson, one of the greatest shooters we've ever seen, still as a sidekick. Draymond Green is no scrub. He's the ultimate utility dude. Iguodala has a ring. Sean Livingston has a ring. David West has a ring. JaVale McGee actually looks like he has a purpose half the time. And don't get me started with Mr. Undercutter himself, Jaja Pajulia. San Antonio understands and feels my pain with that one. So here's where we are. Don't tell me it ain't going to be more pressure on Kevin Durant. It most certainly will. And it is inescapable. We can't get around it. Let's not even try. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. By the way, if you're Houston, whether it's Minnesota or Denver as the number 8 seed, beware. Because let me tell you something right now. Even though Thibodeau has done a good job, and I'm a fan of Jimmy Butler and Karl Anthony Towns is a stud, I'd actually rather see Denver. These brothers have come out of nowhere. I think they've won like 6 straight. They've been balling. They've got good guards. Not to mention the fact they're like cardiac kids. They have absolutely nothing to lose. And they would enjoy playing the up-tempo style that Houston plays And this kid Jokic, I mean, come on now, he can ball. So it would be interesting to see what happens. You got some people out there. I believe Houston's going to the conference finals. I believe it's going to come down to a 7-game series against them at Golden State. But you do have people out there who believe Houston Rockets are going to choke. So Harden's got some pressure. CP3, who has never played in a conference finals in his career, has some pressure. So it's going to be real interesting to see how that unfolds. But I'm paying attention to all of this because I'm starting to get excited. I don't give a damn about where the hell LeBron James is going. I care about where he's at. We asked the question on First Take this morning. You know my television show airs every weekday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific, ESPN. We asked the question this morning about who should Cleveland want to face most in the first round of the NBA playoffs after LeBron put on another show at the Garden in New York last night. Had on a nice-looking blazer, by the way, over the hoodie. I liked it. It was stylish. But I digress. My point is, we had that discussion. And when we had that discussion, you know who my choice was? The Washington Wizards. My God, what a disappointment the Wizards have been. I know they're going to the playoffs. I don't know if they deserve it. They've lost 4 straight, 5 of their last 6, 8 of their last 10 games. And I'm looking at the Washington Wizards right now with the return of John Wall. I mean, they've lost to Atlanta. They've lost to New York. They've lost to Detroit. What the hell is going on in the nation's capital? I love Bradley Beal as a person and as a player. A worthy all-star. John Wall is a great two-way player as far as I'm concerned, an absolute stud. Somehow, some way, they're allergic to prosperity when it counts in the fourth quarter. I mean, what is going on? Inquiring minds want to know. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I expected a lot from the Washington Wizards. Now I know they're going home in the first round. Because chances are they're going to play Toronto in the first round series. And Toronto absolutely, positively cannot lose. If Toronto loses to anyone other than, first of all, if they lose to LeBron, it's going to be bad. Considering the way everybody's been talking about Toronto this year. They're the number 1 seed. They eclipsed the Boston Celtics. I mean, look at the DeMar DeRozan, Kyle Lowry, Valanciunas, Serge Ibaka, Dwayne Casey's coach. A phenomenal coach. I know he is. But they were all saying this stuff. They were all saying it. Here's my thing. It'll be bad if you lost to LeBron. You absolutely, positively cannot lose to anybody else in the Eastern Conference if you are the Toronto Raptors this year. You could have lost to Boston, but Kyrie went down. You can't lose to Boston without Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward. You can't lose to the Wizards in the first round or the Milwaukee Bucks and the Greek Freak if you end up facing them. You can't do that. Not if you're Toronto, not if you're legit. So this is the kind of stuff that we got to pay attention to. This is the kind of stuff that we have to realize cannot be tolerated. We got to hold them accountable as well. Now, I expect LeBron James to run roughshod over them. But here's the interesting part that I will say about LeBron James here. Do y'all understand that LeBron James is under very little pressure? Think about this. Look at how slick this brother is. And I say it affectionately with admiration. It ain't an insult. LeBron James is slick somebody, man. I don't know if y'all know this. Looking at my producers, Cat Newton, no John, y'all don't understand how slick LeBron is. LeBron can give lessons in this stuff. First of all, he wants to control the narrative of everything. He plays well, he's talking basketball. He plays badly. Well, I just care about the kids. You know, I just want to be the right role model to the kids out there. Kids matter a great, great deal to me, and I'm just trying to set a shining example, you know, for other kids to follow. My kids, kids out there, the youth of America. That's what I want. When he has a bad game, that's a conversation. Which is why I said something about it, because I get tired of it. Because my attitude is we can't talk basketball, and I don't blame LeBron. Because here's the deal. We got a whole bunch of wusses out there that sit up there, and the second somebody is critical of him in any way, how you gonna sit up there and say this about LeBron? Well, he's a 3-time champion. Because it's important, y'all. I'm looking at my producers. I'm looking at people here at ESPN. It's important, y'all. Nuna, I don't know if you knew this. It's incredibly important that we mention this stuff about LeBron. John, it's incredibly important that we mention this stuff about LeBron. It's just very important, ladies and gentlemen. LeBron James is a good man. LeBron James is a great husband. LeBron James is an absolutely fabulous daddy. LeBron James is a great basketball ambassador. He's an iconic brand. He's a wonderful role model. Did I miss anything? Because when I'm talking basketball, I want to have the right to talk basketball without everybody saying I'm hating on him. Did anything that I just say sound like hatred on LeBron James? I just want to make sure I get it out my chest. I just want to make sure I get it off my chest. I said, let me make sure I didn't leave it out because I got folks. I got folks listening to me on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and all of that stuff. I want everybody. This is the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern Time every weekday, 10 a.m. to noon Pacific. ESPN Radio, 250 plus markets across the country. Sirius XM Channel 80. I just want to make sure. Because don't hold my producers responsible. Don't hold ESPN responsible. This is me talking. Just me. I just want to make sure I'm fair. Great dad, great husband, great son, great friend, great basketball ambassador, great role model. Did I leave anything out? Is there a masseuse or somebody who gives pedicures that I need to make sure I mention? Because every time I say something remotely critical, I can't talk about the man's basketball game. I said he didn't deserve league MVP. Everybody losing their damn mind. James Harden's 15 games better, averaging 30, has been a model of consistency. And more importantly, had a superstar who wanted to come play with him as opposed to a superstar that wanted to leave from playing with him. No dysfunctionality in Houston, nothing but dysfunctionality in Cleveland. But I'm supposed to give LeBron James an MVP. Hell no, I'm not doing it. LeBron James is the best player in the world. His numbers are great. He will play a game tonight or tomorrow night, and it will be 82 games, all 82 games that he's played at the age of 33, his 15th year in the league. It is phenomenal. But I recall Cleveland being on a roller coaster ride all year long. LeBron didn't have nothing to do with that. I'm just making that up. That wasn't James Harden. I am on the record. I think James Harden and the Houston Rockets, if Steph Curry is healthy, will lose to the Golden State Warriors. I think James Harden is the MVP. I don't think anything or anyone should be able to take it away from him. That includes Anthony Davis and LeBron James and Russell Westbrook. Period. That's right, I said it. We're talking basketball, ladies and gentlemen. Fresh Kings 23S, I see you, baby. I like the fact you agreeing with me. Way to go. Shows your wisdom as a basketball mind. I'm not playing. This is what it's about. And we got to stop playing games, and we got to start talking basketball. We got to start talking sports and stop letting people camouflage issues by bringing in your personal emotions. It's just like with Ben Simmons and the Donovan Mitchell Rookie of the Year debate. Donovan Mitchell ain't the player that Ben Simmons is. I know that. I know that Ben Simmons is the truth and a half. I know that Ben Simmons is a jump shot away from being LeBron James Part 2. I get all of that. He doesn't deserve Rookie of the Year over Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell is a rookie who has been the number one option on the Utah Jazz all year long. One could argue he's been the only option for the Utah Jazz. He didn't have Joel Embiid. He didn't have J.J. Redick. He didn't have Bellinelli and other shooters around him. That's just the truth. Ben Simmons hasn't attempted a three-point. He hasn't hit a three-point shot all year long. He's like 0 for 7 from three-point range. He doesn't have any jump shot to speak of. Now he can get to the hole at will. He's a phenomenal player, a superstar in the making. I love this brother, Ben Simmons. I would take him over Donovan Mitchell any day of the week as a player. In terms of their production and the responsibility, Ben Simmons ain't in the West. Ben Simmons ain't the number one option. Ben Simmons has Joel Embiid. And Donovan Mitchell still got the Utah Jazz as a 4th seed in the Western Conference. What's wrong with y'all? What on earth is wrong with y'all? If you don't know, you better ask somebody. Now, Ben Simmons will probably get it. I'm no fool. He's got the shine. He's got the cachet. He's in the Philadelphia market, not Utah. He's box office already. All of that is true. Ben Simmons, his ball handling skills, his basketball prowess, his IQ, the whole nine. Ben Simmons is special, y'all. I would never take him over Donovan. I would never take Donovan Mitchell over him. But I got news for you. Donovan Mitchell is pretty much all Utah has. And they're the 4th seed in the West. If you don't know, you need to ask somebody. Our Straight Talk Wireless nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. I'm talking LeBron. I'm talking the NBA playoffs. I'm talking MVP. I'm talking Rookie of the Year. I'm going to get into Andrew Luck. But more importantly, I'm going to get in to the Miami Heat's Pat Riley, what he had to say in his new book about LeBron James. And I'm also going to tell you how the great LeBron James, as phenomenal as he is, with all that he means to the NBA, may have actually had a more negative effect on the NBA, specifically the players, than any of y'all realize. Check your local listings, 250-plus markets across the United States of America. I'm talking about the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio, plus Sirius XM, Channel 80, every weekday, 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. to noon, Pacific Coast Time, Pacific Standard Time. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive's Home Insurance. Get your quote at Progressive.com today. 888-SAY-ESPN is the number to call. That's 888-729-3776. You can call into the show if you want to. But I'm warning you, it'll be at your peril if you disagree. Got to give lessons. They call me Stephen A. Smith for a reason, baby. More of the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio in a minute.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I feel like a whole new person.
Disclaimer, you will not become a whole new person. This is impossible. You might be able to join a gym or diet program, buy a new wardrobe, get hair implants, but your DNA and physical form will remain the same. Geico waives any and all liability if you attempt to become a new person, except a cyborg. If you choose to become a half-human, half-cybernetic organism with lasers for eyes, the Geico legal team would be cool with that, because, quote, laser eyes are pretty sweet. Pew, 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 end quote.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Something else that I wanted to touch on a little bit later on in the show. Because, ladies and gentlemen, I pride myself on being incredibly fair-minded. We've got news that Richie Incognito, offensive lineman for the Buffalo Bills, is set to retire. Says he's retiring after 12 years in the NFL due to medical issues. Upon his retiring, he says, stress is killing me. That's what he said. Ladies and gentlemen, do you remember Richie Incognito that was involved in that whole bullying scandal against Jonathan Martin, a 320-pound offensive lineman? They used to be together in Miami before the whole bullying scandal thing got exposed, and Richie Incognito, it almost cost him his career. I believe it cost him a season, if I remember correctly. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not passing judgment here. I just need your help in answering a question I have a desire to ask. In light of what we've learned about Jonathan Martin, remember the post that he put in social media, the threats, and how the LAPD was looking for him and how he had to turn himself in to discuss some matters and what have you? in light of what we've learned about Jonathan Martin, is it possible that Richie Incognito got a bad rap? Is it possible that we've all subjected Richie Incognito to a level of scrutiny he simply didn't deserve? Is that possible? I think it's something that if we're fair-minded human beings, I'm not saying you take one position one way or the other. I'm saying that if we're fair-minded human beings, I really believe in my heart that we need to take a moment and pause and ask ourselves, was Richie Incognito done wrong here? He's a football player that was accused of bullying a 300-pound offensive lineman. Not to say that size matters all the time and that means you can't be bullied. But when you listen to some of the stuff that Jonathan Martin has been involved in since then, when the police has gotten involved because he appeared to be so unstable in terms of his threats, essentially alluding to killing people, it doesn't seem like he's all there. I don't know this to be true. I'm just talking about how it seems. And if it doesn't seem that way, is it possible that Richie Incognito got screwed over in all of this? It's just a question. But I think it warrants a response. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. By the way, top of the 2 o'clock hour, top of hour number 2, Clyde Drexler, the new president of the Big 3 3-on-3 basketball league led by Ice Cube, co-founder of the league, the great Clyde Drexler, Hall of Famer, champion with the Houston Rockets, at least for 1 year. He'll be on the show with us, talking about the Big 3, talking about the NBA. He's qualified. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Leon. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me, Leon. What's up?
How you doing, Steve, man?
Good.
First, I want to give a shout-out to you, Max, and Molly. I love the show. I love First Take. I'm a big fan.
Thank you.
About what you were saying about Kevin Durant having to go to Oklahoma City without Stephen Curry. Yeah, Golden State would be some roadkill. Number one, Stephen Curry's the whole engine and brains behind that thing. Klay Thompson's a stud. Draymond's a stud. Kevin Durant's fabulous, in my personal opinion, the most outstanding role player of all time. And I don't know where it happened where the best player isn't a great leader of men, but I think Kevin Durant is lacking that. Because when they had Golden State a couple of years ago down 3-1, there's no way they should have let that series slip through their hands like that. And being a leader of men, Kevin Durant would have been able to do it.
I got you. I understand.
And another thing I just want to touch bases on is that mess down there in New Orleans. Shout out to Anthony Davis, man, because he got them people in the playoffs. He got them there. DeMarcus Cousins ain't been there all year. DeMarcus Cousins is a really, really great talent, really, really high potential, whole lot of empty calories.
Got it.
Whole lot of empty calories.
I got it. I appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much. Ron in Queens, you're live with Stephen A. What's up, Ron?
Hey, what's going on, Stephen A?
Talk to me.
Thanks for the call.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Listen, about Incognito, there's obviously something there with Jonathan Martin, but he did leave those disturbing voice messages that came public, if you don't recall that.
Right.
But about basketball, I just think I couldn't agree more with what you were saying about Harden and LeBron. Harden this year has been on an absolute tear. When Chris Paul got here, everyone was saying, how are they going to work together, two ball-dominant guards? But Harden's still getting his 30 and 9 a night. So without question, he's the MVP. And that's why I think in the West, they're the team to beat. They match up perfectly with Golden State as long as Harden is willing to chase Thompson around on D. But if you look at it...
Stop right there. What did you just say? If it's contingent... Hold on, wait a minute. If it's contingent on Harden's willingness to chase Klay Thompson around, Houston has no chance. Houston has no chance. Now, if you're saying that it's contingent on James Harden showing up and exploding, I'll tell you they'll have a better chance because James Harden's going to do work in the postseason. I believe in him. But I'm never going to accuse James Harden of being an elite defender. That's not going to happen.
Oh. But about Simmons and Mitchell, if I can, real quick.
Go ahead, real quick.
How could you say, I'm shocked that you say Donovan Mitchell it should be Rookie of the Year over Simmons? If the roles are reversed and Embiid is playing right now and Simmons was out for the past 4 games.
Nope. You don't get to look at it. You don't get to look at it that way. Because you get to look at it that way if I'm telling you that Ben Simmons is not a better player than Donovan Mitchell. Then that question is legitimate. That is not a legitimate question because I'm only going by the season that they've had. We know that Donovan Mitchell is not Ben Simmons. We know that he's not as talented as him. He's not as gifted as him. He certainly doesn't have his size and ball handling skills, athleticism to that level. We get all of that. What we're talking about is the season that they've had. Donovan Mitchell is a true rookie. He didn't get to sit in the NBA on a bench, practice with the team, learn the NBA culture and all of that other stuff prior to stepping on the court for a year. He is a true rookie that came into the NBA without the services of Gordon Hayward, who had departed. He was immediately the number one option for the team. And they're the 4th seed in the West, led by him, without the services of a Joel Embiid or somebody like that. That is what we go on. Nothing else. Have a nice day.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
Street light. You know, something I want to tell y'all about real quick. I know there are several of you out there who had a bad night. You know why I know this? Because I used to be just like you. I didn't get a great sleep because of my snoring. But that was before I tried the revolutionary device called Zeepa. It's a game changer, y'all. If you snore, you're not sleeping. If you're not sleeping, you're not succeeding, okay? If you want success, you must be at your best. So Zeep is the solution that helps you get that great sleep so you feel your best in the morning. And everyone who sleeps next to you gets the rest they need to feel great in the morning, too. Zeep is the only snore solution of its kind. If you snore, you need to get a Zeepa. I want you to go to ZYPPAH.com. Easy to remember because Zeep is happy Z spelled backwards. Go to Zeepa.com right now. Get a Zeepa and tell everybody you know to get a Zeepa as well. Remember, it's ZYPPAH. That's Zeepa.com. Get the great sleep you need and the great sleep you deserve. Before I get back to the phones. And Clyde Drexler, new president of the Big Three League, co-founded by Ice Cube. On First Take this morning, we were talking about Mark McGwire. Mark McGwire goes on the record, says he could have smacked 70 home runs. I'm not going to go on the soapbox that Max Kellerman spent about 15 minutes doing. At least it felt that way, damn it. You know. But I will tell you that I do not believe that Mark McGwire would have done that. I do believe that Mark McGwire was a cheat. And personally speaking, when you look at his numbers and what have you, not that he wasn't a prolific home run hitter. His first real season in the Major League Baseball, he hit 49 home runs. But what I would tell you about Mark McGwire is that this guy, you know, talk about pleading the fifth, didn't even want to admit he was pleading the fifth. I'm not here to talk about my past. Elijah Cummings, congressional representative, like, are you pleading? Are you exercising your Fifth Amendment rights? Couldn't even do that right. He would have struck out more often. I don't believe he would have succeeded in smacking that many home runs. But more importantly than that, I think the year he started cheating was 1995. Because I think at that time, after the immediate cancellation of the World Series, Mark McGwire knew there's no way they would check. That's just me. Carlton in Tampa, you're live with Stephen A. What's up, buddy? We only got a few minutes. Go ahead, my man.
Hey, I listened to you and Max and Molly even chimed in excoriating Mark McGwire this morning. I find it hysterical that you all gang up on him, but you guys are all apologists for Bill Belichick and you give him a complete pass. Bill Belichick started cheating the first year he was with the New England Patriots. ESPN Outside the Lines, 2 years ago, 8 years after Spygate was exposed, said that they had accumulated over 40 videotapes of other teams' defensive signals from the year 2000 till the first game of 2007 against the Jets when they got busted for Spygate. So Bill won his first 3 Super Bowls when Tom Brady was getting in his headset, his quarterback headset, to other teams' defensive alignments. So Tom Brady knew exactly where to go with the ball. And it was in 2007, the same year that Belichick gets busted for Spygate, that he installs Jim McNally in the officials' locker room of the New England Patriots and starts deflating footballs for the next 8 years. Now, that hasn't been proven yet, but I know it happened.
That hasn't been proven yet, but you know. Oh, stop it, Carlton. Carlton, I got a question for you, too. Are you ready for this question?
Go ahead.
Are you sitting down for this question?
I'm sitting down.
Well, if you feel so passionate about that, how come you never called out Tom Brady?
Because Tom didn't want it. He knew about it, but he didn't want it. Hold it, Carlton.
How do you know he didn't want it?
Because every aspect of Tom Brady's professional life says that he is a true competitor. Every aspect of Bill Belichick's life says that he is a Machiavellian SOB that is going to stick you in the back.
So in other words, Tom Brady is a true competitor. Bill Belichick is I'm just a perpetual cheat. Okay, yep. A serial cheat. But let me finish. Bill Belichick is a serial cheat. Tom Brady's a competitor, but Tom Brady has been benefiting, according to you, not me. According to you, Tom Brady has been benefiting from the cheating of Bill Belichick for more than a decade. But he doesn't have a problem with it. Which one is it, Carlton?
Well, no. If Tom Brady wraps up the New England Patriots, he's the biggest rat in sports history. He can't do anything about it.
Carlton, I hear excuses out of your mouth right now.
There's no excuses. That's reality,
You got 20 seconds. I'm telling you right now, it's an excuse because you can't hold Bill Belichick accountable without holding Tom Brady accountable, too. You can't do it, Carlton.
Bill gave the orders. Tom is just following the orders, and he doesn't have any. He doesn't have the ability to resist.
Carlton, I gotta go. I gotta say this. You're the best. You are the absolute best. There's always an excuse for Belichick. Against Belichick. I gotta run, man. I got a hard break. Thanks a lot, buddy. Hour number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show up next. The great Clyde Drexler is coming on the show. Plus more NBA talk to get into Pat Riley and LeBron. Talk to you in a minute.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Great news. There's a quick way you can save money. Switch to Geico. Geico could help you get great coverage at a great price. And it only takes 15 minutes to see if you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Go to geico.com today and see how much you could save.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Welcome to hour number 2. The Stephen A. Smith Show right here with you on ESPN Radio, 250 plus markets across the United States of America, including Houston and San Antonio, which have been added to the docket. Thank you so much for welcoming the Stephen A. Smith Show into your city. Plus Sirius XM Channel 80. Number to call up as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Going to get back to the calls a little bit later on. Got a few things to get into. Richie Incognito, Jonathan Martin, of course, Pat Riley, what he had to say about LeBron James, along with various other things as well. But it's an honor to have my next guest, right here with yours truly. NBA's 50th anniversary all-time team. He is a member of that. He was a champion with the Houston Rockets in 1995. He starred for Phi Slamma Jamma, the Houston Cougars, back in the early 80s with Olajuwon in the crew. He is now the new commissioner of the Big Three League, co-founded by rap artist extraordinaire Ice Cube. I'm talking about the one and only Clyde the Glide Drexler is on the line with yours truly right now. What's going on, Clyde? How you doing, man? How's everything?
Oh, good, Stephen A. Delighted to be on the show, man. I see you're doing great. You got picked up in Houston.
Yes, I did.
H-Town represented.
Thanks a lot, Clyde. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. Let's get right to this. Before I even get into the NBA playoffs and all of this other stuff, I want you to talk to me about the Big Three League. Why did you agree to become a commissioner? I want to know what this is like and what sparked you to do this.
Stephen A., first of all, Ice Cube what a great guy. He and his partner, Jeff Quantnetz, they are the nicest guys, but they're really sharp. Everything they touch is turned to gold.
Yep.
So, obviously, last year I was a coach in the Big Three. Had such a great experience and really believe in the future and the vision of Ice Cube and the Big Three. Was delighted to become the commissioner so I can help it grow, help the vision come to fruition, and just be a part of something that's very special.
As a coach in this league last year, first of all, refresh my memory, which team did you coach?
I coached the Power, Power.
Right.
And on my team, I had Jerome Junkyard Dog Williams, Corey Maggette, Catino Mobley, Deshaun Stevenson, Paul McPherson. And we had an incredible year until a couple guys got injured toward the latter end of the season, and we didn't finish well. Obviously, we had a guy by the name of Rashul Butler on our team.
Yeah.
And, bless his heart, was the nicest guy in the world.
Yep.
But we had a great team and a great experience. The champions were really good. And this year, Stephen A., you got to bring your game to even make a team.
Yeah. I know that because I showed up to the game in Philly. I saw that personally, no question about that. We're talking to the great Clyde Drexler, the new commissioner for the Big Three tournament, for the Big Three League, right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. And by the way, he brought up a Rasul Butler, as he said, a former NBA player, one of the nicest guys you'd ever want to meet, former star at LaSalle University, passed away in a car accident along with his lovely wife several weeks ago. So God bless his wonderful soul. But let's move on to this subject because we got, when I look at the Big Three, I'm thinking about guys, former retired NBA players, 3-on-3 competition. I've spoken to Ice Cube about this on many occasions. He obviously has an aspiration, Clyde, to just continue the love of the game, the love of the sport. These former players still wanting to show that they got a little bit left. They don't want to run up and down the court 94 feet for 82 games, but they can still play. Is that how you view it?
Absolutely, that's how I view it. And when I met with Ice Cube initially, when we first talked about it, almost over a year ago, his thing was, I love some of these guys, and some of these guys retired too early. They still got a lot left in the tank. What if we created a league where these guys can still showcase their skills, and if it's half court, they'll really be able to showcase them. And I'm thinking, what a great concept. Ice Cube has got the golden touch. He created the first startup league in 18 years. Mm-hmm. In 18 years. Come on now. And the first year was tremendously successful. So everyone's looking forward to the second year. And as a new commissioner, I am delighted to be a part of it.
I'm going to get into that in just a second, but I got to ask you a real funny question. Is there anybody that you saw last year who you believe can still play in the league?
Oh, about 20 guys.
Oh, okay.
Because if you look at every NBA team, with the exception of maybe Golden State and Houston and maybe Cleveland, the last, the 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 spots, those 6 spots, our guys could beat anybody in those 6 spots. I guarantee you. Guys like Deshaun Stevenson, Steven Jackson, Chauncey Billups. Come on. And now we got guys like Amari Stoudemire, Nate Robinson, Drew Gooden, Carlos Boozer, and many, many more on top of the guys we had last year. So our league is full of guys, not old guys that can really play, and it's very competitive. For 10 weeks in the summer, Stephen A., It is the most competitive basketball league in the world. Everyone wants to be a part of it, and it's like a road show. Whatever city we go to sells out, and they look forward to the next week.
Clyde, how receptive has the NBA been to helping the Big Three league grow, in your estimation?
The NBA has been really supportive, and anything we need, open door policy. They've been kind of quiet on it, just kind of seeing which way it's going to go. But it doesn't conflict with the NBA at all. The NBA is where we all came from. We love the NBA. There's never going to be a conflict. But in the summer, our game is king.
Clyde Drexler right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio. By the way, the Big Three Player Combine will take place tomorrow. That's Wednesday, April 11th in L.A. The Big Three Player Draft will be broadcast live on FS1 on Thursday, April 12th from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. More than 80 players have signed on to compete for the remaining 19 spots available in the league. We're talking to Commissioner Clyde Drexler right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Before I get to the NBA playoffs, that's about to jumpstart this weekend. Clyde, what does the Big Three, or what will the Big Three League define as success for this summer?
Well, the Big Three, we got Adidas as a new 3-year corporate partner. That's huge. Fox, they're on Fox and FS1 this summer, and we're live this summer, Stephen A. When you're live, you've made it. We're on Friday nights now live. So it's going to be an incredible year because the talent level has been raised. As you mentioned, there are only 19 spots available, and there are about 50 ex-NBA players at the Combine fighting for these 19 spots.
So am I understanding this correctly? The games will only be on Friday nights, and they will be live?
Exactly.
Okay.
You'll get to see it live this year. Last year was on Sunday, but tape delayed until Monday night. So it's a little bit different. When you become live, you've made it.
Gotcha. Clyde Drexler right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Let's get to a couple of other subjects. Let me transition to the NBA because that's a place where you starred. That's a place where you played for the Portland Trail Blazers for many years after being picked in the first round for, and obviously you won a championship with Olajuwon and the crew in Houston. When you see the Houston Rockets this year, led by James Harden and CP3, what do you see?
I see championship written all over it, Stephen A. That's my prediction and has been from the very beginning. When people were questioning, is there enough balls for James and Chris? Are you kidding? You get those great players and you just put them on the same team. They'll find a way to make it work. Those guys are probably the best backcourt in the history of the NBA. Now, the question is, they've got a lot of things to overcome. Think about it. Motivation. James Harden has had some playoff blow-ups, even though he's been phenomenal. He gets tired in the playoff. Well, this year, he's got help, CP3, so he won't be as fatigued, and he's going to have help. CP3, he's had some injuries in the playoff, big injuries for many years. He's got to prove that he's proven to me that he can still really play. He's just got to prove he can stay healthy throughout the playoffs. Mike D'Antoni, the head coach, he's had some 60-win teams before, but had little playoff success to show for it. So he's got to prove that his style of play not only holds up in the regular season, but also in the playoffs. And so they're motivated. They all have never won. And so I think that's going to be the key that gets them over the hump this year.
Clyde Drexler, I mean no disrespect whatsoever, but you do sound like a bit of a homer there, sir. You do sound like I'm not hearing a basketball analyst. I'm hearing a cheerleader.
Stephen A., I see them every game, and so I know what they're capable of. Okay. All right, the Warriors are good. They're defending champions, right?
Okay, yes.
Cleveland's always got LeBron. They're always going to be a threat. Nobody else is even in the conversation.
That's true.
Now, the Warriors are almost falling apart. I don't know if it's injuries or lack of chemistry or whatever, but they're having a hard time. Not a good time to be falling apart in the postseason, right? Now, Cleveland, I don't think they're capable of beating the Rockets. They can't score enough points to beat them in a series. So that's why I say it's the Rockets' time. Not only are they the best team, they're the hungriest team in the playoffs.
I guess what I'm saying, Clyde Drexler right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio, I guess what I'm saying is I'd understand your point if they didn't have Steph Curry. I'd understand your point if it was a first-round matchup. But if these two teams were to meet, it would be in the conference finals, which means Steph Curry would be back, which means CP3 would have to deal with him, and James Harden would have to deal with him and Kevin Durant. I mean, does that not strike you? Does that not force you to be just a tad bit more concerned?
I'm concerned because they are very good, and they've got a couple championships under their belt. But even just because when you come back from an injury, you come back, that doesn't mean you're 100%, Stephen A. You got to get your time in. You got to get everything back, your feel, and it takes
what about
a while
CP3?
to get all of that
Hasn't
back.
CP3 been sitting down Clyde Drexler? I didn't hear you bringing that up.
Well, mostly for rest, because their record is so good, they get a chance to rest him. How cool is that?
Oh, my goodness. Clyde Drexler right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Listen, if the playoffs were to begin, the likelihood would be that it would be Denver or Minnesota that's going up against Houston. I get all of that, but you got a lot of people that's looking at D'Antoni's style of play. The fact that, again, he pushes the ball up the court. It's very formidable, but in the same breath, when the shot's not falling, everything appears to fall apart because even though they've improved defensively and no one can deny that, it's still a concern from time to time. Are you not worried about that?
I'm worried about it, and that's why who's the best mid-range shooter in the entire league? CP3. That's the reason they got him. He's a difference maker. Also, you got Eric Gordon coming off that bench, and he can drive to the basket, one of the best scorers in the game. You got Gerald Green playing at a very high level. And you got guys like P.J. Tucker, Trevor Ariza, Clint Capella getting it done defensively. And CP3 has been, 7 or 8 teams all-time first team defense?
Yeah.
These guys are good, Stephen A.
Oh, I know they're very good. I have no concerns about Houston in terms of their greatness. I only have concerns about them against the Golden State Warriors. I have to admit to you, Clyde Drexler, I have been on the record stating that as great as Houston is, and James Harden definitely is my MVP, I have been on the record, if the Golden State Warriors are healthy, I don't care if it's a Game 7 at the Toyota Center in Houston, the Golden State Warriors would beat the Houston Rockets. Are you saying that I'm blasphemous for uttering such words?
No, you have a valid argument, Stephen A., as always, but I just have confidence that the hunger factor, never underestimate. These guys, they're like fat cats. We've done it. We've won 60 games 3-4 years in a row. That's old news to us. Well, the Rockets, this is the first time doing that. They're all hungry. CP3, a new start with a new team. Mike D'Antoni, first time being back in the thick in a long time. James Harden wanted to prove to everyone that he's the best player on the planet, not only the MVP. So you got all these dynamics that I think are going to work in the Rockets' favor.
Clyde Drexler right here with Stephen A on ESPN Radio. I mean, based on what you're saying, it's just a silly question because talk about being Captain Obvious, that would be me or you. Is James Harden your league MVP?
Oh, Captain Obvious, by far. No one else is even close.
Not even, hold on. LeBron's not even close?
LeBron's close. LeBron could get it every year, but if you look at what James Harden has done, his team has been stellar from start to finish. He's been the best player in the league, the most consistent, and, 65, 66, 67 wins, that says it all.
Well, what they'll look at is that Russell Westbrook won the MVP last year over Harden, by the way. Harden had a better record than him last year. LeBron had a better record than him last year. You look at Russell Westbrook and the way he carried Oklahoma City on his back, even though he didn't win as many games as Harden, he still deserved it. In LeBron's case, they're saying he's 33. He's in his 15th season. He will play tonight. He will have played all 82 games of the regular season. They're pointing to those things to highlight how LeBron, his performance has been absolutely miraculous, and that in and of itself would warrant a league MVP. To that, you say what, Clyde Drexler?
Stephen A., you make a valid point. Anytime you talk about the King, I am his biggest fan. He plays the total game. He'll run. He'll get loose balls. He'll block shots on the weak side. He'll run guys down in transition to block shots. If you're open, he's going to pass you the ball. He's one of the few superstars in the league who has always done that. That's what sets him apart. That's why he wins, and his teammates love him. So an argument for the King is always good. But James Harden, arguably 2 years ago when Steph Curry won the MVP, James could have won it that year and probably should have. Last year, I thought he should have won it over Russell Westbrook. If you had to pick one, you'd pick James. And this year, it's so obvious, you got to give it to him. The third year's a charm.
Clyde Drexler, who would you pick, Jordan or LeBron?
Let me tell you something. Give me either one of those guys, and you got a dynasty.
Clyde Drexler, the new commissioner of the Big Three, right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. By the way, the Big Three 2018 season tips off June 22nd in Houston. Playoffs will be in Dallas August 17th. The championship game will take place in Brooklyn, New York, August 24th. All games this season will be broadcast live on Friday nights on either FS1 or Fox, depending on the week. Clyde Drexler, honor and privilege to talk to you as always, my man. By the way, before I let you go, who's coming out of the East?
Well, I think the King is always going to come out the East. I'd be shocked if Toronto was able to beat them. But let me ask you something, Stephen A.
Sure.
You guys always give up this LeBron versus Michael analogy. What about some other guys who were great? What about like Elgin Baylor, Julius Erving? Who was ever better than those guys? Yeah. Who was better than Larry Bird?
Well, let me answer that question.
Come on, Stephen A.
I will openly confess that I'm a young whippersnapper compared to most folks. Okay, so I was born in 1967. Didn't get a chance to see Elgin Baylor too much live, but I know my basketball. Here's what I would say to you. Elgin Baylor might be a good argument. Dr. J, I'm sorry, Jordan just took, if you want to give Dr. J credit for being, the predecessor, just like Connie Hawkins was the predecessor to Dr. J. If you want to do all of that, I'm not going to argue with you. But to me, Dr. J, ball handling skills, jump shooting ability, his ability on the defensive side of the ball did not compare to Jordan's. Okay? I can't do that. When I think about Larry Bird, I think he was phenomenal as a forward, as a shooting forward. He could rebound, he could pass, he could play, all of that other stuff. Also, defensively challenged. Wasn't the athlete that the LeBron was, the Michael Jordan was. You obviously were great, but Jordan was in your era. You know what time it is there. So that's where I'm at with it. What's wrong with that?
Well, no, you make a valid point. Obviously, in my opinion, I played against all those guys, and I'm not taking anything away from LeBron or Jordan. I think they're phenomenal, as was Kobe. But Julius, I think you're underestimating his game. He was a consummate defensive player, one of the best rebounders, and he can make passes in transition and in the half-court set. And the guy's field goal percentage, look at that.
He wasn't
always above 50.
Yeah, because he went to the rim and he elevated and he played in the air while everybody else was on the ground. But Julius Erving was not a great jump shooter, and Julius Erving could not handle the ball that great. Come on, Clyde, you know that.
Let me tell you something, Stephen A. I never saw anybody steal the ball from him.
Okay.
But I never saw that. He wanted every time.
I got you.
You couldn't stop the guy. I guarded him. Try to stay in front of Julius. He's just going to spin off of you.
I got
He's
you.
Incredible.
I got you. But you would, can I ask a question without you getting offended, sir? Can I ask a question?
Absolutely. You know that.
Clyde Drexler, how could you say that at the expense of Michael Jordan when you know what happened when you went against Michael Jordan?
Michael's phenomenal, but you got to understand, Stephen A. This is what you got to understand. FGAs, field goal attempts.
Mm-hmm.
Michael was phenomenal in the fact that he could shoot 30, 35, 40 shots a game and come back and do it every single game. Most guys will tire out. Julius Erving, if you look at his FGAs, I don't think he ever went over 20, 25. That's the difference.
I'm going to look that up. Because I'm looking at Michael Jordan right now. Michael Jordan, this is Michael Jordan that we're talking about here. He averaged 22.9 shots per game for his career. That's
How many
what he
free throws?
did. I said what?
How many free throws?
Hold on. I'm looking right now. Michael Jordan averaged 8.2 free throws per game. He averaged 22.9 shots, 8.2 free throws per game. That's what he did, okay?
That's roughly 27, 28 attempts a night.
Say what?
That's roughly 27, 28 attempts at the basket a night. So if you're a defender, you got to put in a lot of work because you don't get a lot of touches.
I'm looking at Julius Erving, 18.8 field goal attempts per day. That's four. That's four less per game. All right, and he averaged 6.5 free throws,
which is one attempt. So you got 4 or 5 more attempts per game for Michael than you do for Julius.
About 4 more attempts. Is that all you got, Clyde? Is that all you got?
Michael's phenomenal. I'm not making a point against Michael. I'm making a point for Julius.
Okay, I understand. But you know what? I'm going to make a point for you in the big three. I'm proud of you. I'm happy for you. Happy that you're a great commissioner. You're clearly going to promote the sport. You know you're welcome on anytime. You know how much I love my man Ice Cube as well. And good luck doing what you're doing. And you will see me in Houston. Matter of fact, I'm coming for game 1. I'm coming for game 1, Clyde.
I look forward to it. I'll be right next to you.
My brother. Thank you so much. Tell Calvin Murphy I'm coming too. You know how much I love my brothers. Thanks a lot, my man. The great Clyde. All right, buddy. The great Clyde Drexler right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. By the way, get the feeling of being rewarded with gold status at Shell with the Fuel Rewards program. Download the Fuel Rewards app. Join and start saving 5 cents a gallon today. That was the great Clyde the Glide Drexler. He was great. There is no doubt about that. It's just that there are levels to greatness, and Michael Jordan was on a different level. And unfortunately, it was around the same time that Clyde Drexler was balling. This is what we're talking about here. That was one of the things that we're talking about. And I'm happy that Ice Cube and them going to do their thing with the Big Three. The Big Three tournament is something that I think the NBA should be very, very helpful with. It doesn't compromise the NBA in any way. A matter of fact, it's a very competitive basketball league. And because it's a competitive basketball league, but it's 3-on-3 play involving retired players, it's no threat to the NBA. It's all a plus. It's not a minus. So long as the players take it seriously enough to promote the sport, not just play the 3-on-3, but to actually promote the sport. That's what we can't ignore. The players for the big three got to look out for Ice Cube, got to look out for Clyde Drexler and everybody else, and assist in promoting the sport. That's showing up to play, that's being willing to promote and do everything that you can to grow the sport itself. You do that, the NBA will hop on board, in my opinion, and they'll be far more openly helpful than they've been. Not to say that they haven't helped, but I'm talking about being open about it. That's something we could talk about as the show continues. Plus, I got to get into Pat Riley and LeBron James. I ain't forget about that either. And I've been talking about Kevin Durant. I even brought up Richie Incognito. All that and more coming up. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Next, you're holding up the line, ma'am.
What did you say?
You're next in line for the water slide, ma'am. Feet forward and enjoy the ride.
Okay, dearie. This does look fun. You melted me. I've melted.
The Wicked Witch of the West on a water slide? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
See what you've done. Oh!
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, looking at CNN and seeing Mark Zuckerberg, head of Facebook, CEO of Facebook. He's testifying before the Senate committee. You know, I look at him and I see a guy that damn near look like he belongs in high school. He's the man at Facebook. Ain't this something? Brilliance comes in all shapes, ages, colors, and sizes. Let's leave it at that. Before I get back to the calls, let me say this. Pat Riley has a new book coming out April 17th. In it, he acknowledges how livid he was that LeBron James left him, but it subsided after a few days because he realized that it was bigger than him. If you think about all the things that come with LeBron, it was important for him to be able to go back home when all was said and done because the mission was to try and achieve, deliver a championship to the city of Cleveland. The fact that he was able to do it, meant everything to him, gave him a level of emotional freedom. I'm paraphrasing here, according to Pat Riley, but it gave him an emotional level of freedom that obviously he's able to benefit from, and that is that. The other thing I wanted to point to is this, and it's not a negative to LeBron James, although I'm quite sure all the LeBron James apologists out there, the sensitive lads that exist, will take it that way. When we think about LeBron James and we think about leverage, him holding hostage, the NBA hostage practically every summer, LeBron James has done nothing wrong. LeBron James is a champion. LeBron James is about trying to win championships and trying to maximize his potential in every turn, the money and all of that other stuff. It's incredibly important that we remember something, though. Some of the trials and tribulations that players have in today's NBA has everything to do with LeBron James. Allow me to explain. When LeBron James left Cleveland to go to Miami, it's not that he left, but the manner in which he handled it, not giving Dan Gilbert a call, letting Dan Gilbert find out on national television, provoking the ire that ultimately followed from Dan Gilbert. It's had collateral impact that you couldn't possibly imagine. Remember, there was a collective bargaining negotiation that followed. Owners were dogged in minimizing basketball-related income for the players from 57% to 50%. That was hundreds of millions of dollars that the players lost annually. That's number one. Number two, part of the collective bargaining agreement involved minimizing player movement. Sure, you had a few stars that left, but if you want that Supermax deal, 5 years, etc., 5 years, $200+ million, you got to be like Steph Curry and stay in the same place. Or Russell Westbrook and stay in the same place. You leave, you don't get the Supermax deal. Plus, keep in mind that you minimized your contract from 5 years to 4 years. Somebody like LeBron James doesn't mind that because he's going to get his money. Other players don't have that level of security. And we ain't taking into account the medium level players. So it's had a drastic effect on them. Remember the CP3 deal that was supposed to land him in LA with the Lakers and Kobe Bryant? That was nixed by Commissioner Stern, who was with the NBA, the de facto owner of the New Orleans Hornets at the time? Well, Dan Gilbert was the one that wrote a letter going off about the deal, talking about how the Lakers were getting the best player while still saving over $20 million in luxury taxes because Jim Buss was too idiotic to sit up there and make sure he threw the other teams a bone rather than pulling off a heist that brought the attention of the basketball world down upon him. Dan Gilbert was the one that wrote the letter calling it a travesty. And subsequently, Commissioner Stern said the deal was a no-go, which is why Chris Paul ended up being a Clipper instead of a Laker. So think about all of that. Pay attention to all of that. And what do you have? You have a situation where because LeBron James handled his departure from Dan Gilbert in a relatively classless fashion, which he openly admits, you had owners saying, well, we can't let these dudes control what's going on here. We can't have this kind of movement with no consequences. We can't have them controlling everything. And they went about the business of making sure they addressed it with the fervor that it deserved. LeBron James is going to be all right no matter what. That has not necessarily been the case for everybody else in the league. The stars are always going to be taken care of. What about everybody else? If you handle stuff with decorum, professionalism, and class, it goes a long way, especially with individuals in positions of more power who have bigger egos than you. Just a thought. Michael and Callie, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Oh, my gosh. I'm on the Stephen A. Smith show. That's amazing. I love your show, man. You are so entertaining.
Thank you, bro.
Oh, my gosh.
Go ahead, man.
Thank absolutely. You. Got a couple of points. I'm going to take you back to the Richie Incognito and answer your question. I absolutely think he got everything he deserved. He's a bully. Okay. And I used to be bullied. Used to. Mm-hmm. And it leaves scars on you because it usually happens when you are young, when you don't know how to interpret the information coming at you. You're
all right. Stop right there. Let me tell you why I have a problem with your position. Respectfully, Michael, why I have a problem with your position. Because you've admitted that you've been bullied. Okay? So you don't have objectivity with this. That's number one. Number two, the only reason I brought up an issue about Richie Incognito, just to be clear to my listeners, is because of what we've learned about Jonathan Martin since that time. Because everybody, so in other words, without that stuff, there's nothing to discuss. Absolutely, Richie Incognito looked bad. But now that we've seen, dare I say, the sensitive nature of Jonathan Martin and some of the things that have come out to the point where the police needed him to show up at the precinct, not Richie Incognito. Doesn't it give you cause to pause when it comes to that specific incident because of what we've learned about Jonathan Martin?
I would say that I definitely come from a biased sense of being bullied before, and therefore I have a more empathetic heart and understanding of what Jonathan Martin has to deal with with his own demons. I don't give him any kind of pause or credit or I don't give him a leeway to do what he did. I think he just needs to man up and face his own demons and figure that out. And that's a tougher road to take than it is for a bully to figure out that you're just he's a big jerk that treats people inappropriately.
All right, but here's my question to you, Michael. Based on how Jonathan Martin has reacted, how do we truly know he was bullied by Richie Incognito when we have players in the National Football League, half of whom are white, by the way, that said they didn't see, half of who are black, by the way, who said they didn't see any issue with Richie Incognito. Richie Incognito didn't deserve the shrapnel of criticism that was aimed in his direction. They actually said this stuff.
I can answer that question easily because the stories that Jonathan Martin described, like his experiences, the things that he said, were very much on par with people who have been through those situations.
You know what? That's very fair, Michael. Michael, that's very fair because, like you said, you've been bullied. So when you bring that part up, that's a very valid point on your part. You would be qualified to dissect that the way that you did and to come to that conclusion. I appreciate the call, buddy. Thank you so much, and I appreciate you listening to the show. By the way, when was the last time you all checked your credit scores? Know what they are now? Not from a year ago. With Credit Karma. The best thing about Credit Karma, it's always free and there's no credit card needed. Just go to creditkarma.com or download the Credit Karma app. Learn what affects your scores and what you can do to improve them. Once you know where you stand, Credit Karma helps you figure out your next move. And Credit Karma also offers free credit monitoring. Visit creditkarma.com. That's KARMA.com or download the app now. That's creditkarma.com. Your calls to close out the show in a minute. You're listening live to Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Back to the phones we go. Let's go to Bombo in North Carolina. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
What is going on, Stephen A? I just want to put my GM cap on for a minute and talk about this San Antonio situation.
Go ahead.
Kawhi Leonard. If I'm the GM with them, I would go ahead and call up Irvin Magic Johnson and tell him, hey, I know you don't want to let go of none of those young guys, but if you can give me Brandon Ingram, Julius Randle, and possibly a 2020 or 2021 top 10 protected pick, you can have your superstar for the future. What do you think about that?
I don't know about that. Brandon Ingram, Julius Randle, Kawhi's worth both of them. Top 10 pick. It's doable. It's doable. Not bad. I'll think about that, Bombo, but it's doable. Thanks a lot for the call. Sean in Indiana, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hey, Stephen A.
Good. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just calling about Clyde's comments about, I feel like he was really discrediting what the Warriors have done over these last couple of years. So it's historic with, to say that Harden and Paul are the better all-time backcourt than Clay and Steph, that's got to be, it's Homer, being a Homer. I get that. Ever since Steph and Clay.
Well, listen. He's not talking about them historically. He's saying that this year, Houston's been the best team in the game, and Harden and CP3 have been absolutely sensational. And because of that, he believes that Houston is going to win it all. He's clearly being a Homer, but let's face reality. It's not like his statements are completely invalid at this particular juncture. The Houston Rockets are the real deal. So real, in fact, that there's actual pressure on them. There's actual pressure on them to show up and produce because the expectations are that significant. And that's what we can't ignore, Sean. I appreciate the call, though. Thank you. Steve Montana, you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead, Steve. Steve.
Hello?
Yeah, you're live on the air. Go ahead, buddy.
Oh, great. Sorry about that. Hey, I want to talk about the Incognito Jonathan Martin thing.
Okay, go ahead.
Biggest thing, I read through the text messages, and even though Incognito seems like a jerk, he's that locker room jerk.
Yep.
They seem like buddies. You read through the text, I don't know if you did, but they were buddies,
man. I haven't read them recently, but I read them.
Made the Pro Bowl,
I read them at the time. It was a big story. I read them at the time. It was a big story. But go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Well, beyond that, though, and obviously the voicemail is vile. Vile as hell. But they seem like they were buddies. So I do think he got a bad rap.
I got you.
And I guess, what can you say? Jonathan Martin went to the Niners, who I'm a fan of, and that didn't work out either. So, and there's nothing you can ever say to a guy who posts what he posted on social media with a shotgun and threatening a school shooting.
Yes, threatening a school shooting. That's what Jonathan Martin did. So, again, I think I'm not making any proclamations here. I'm saying that in light of what we've seen from Jonathan Martin since the whole Richie Incognito ordeal, one must wonder how guilty was Richie Incognito of the things he's been accused of. Although the individual that called up and said he was bullied made a very, very valid point that some of the things that was pointed out are the classic reactions from someone who has been bullied. Got to get on out of here, but I'll be back in 22 hours. Until then, this is Stephen A. Smith Show signing off on ESPN Radio. Peace and love.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.